You tried to migrate some nice picture to WinCC Unified, but you ended up with something absurd instead of a great widget. Stay here and I'll show you how I handle it. Welcome back, my name is Cyril and I'm Controls Engineer. Today I wanna show you how to convert the gradients so WinCC can display them. Almost every pretty SVG image uses both linear and radial gradients. Gradients add depth and shadows to the image, so it's definitely worth spending some time to convert SVG image with gradients to dynamic widget. Let's go! In our example, we are going to create dynamic widget from this pretty magnifying glass. As you can see, it consists of a couple of linear and radial gradients, and how it looks like in WinCC Unified after simple conversion. All these gradients becomes black and our magnifying glass looks awful. Go to VS Code. I have already done the basic steps for the conversion. I have added special attributes into SVG element and created HMI self section. If you are not familiar with these steps, watch my previous video where I explained it. All gradients should be placed in depth element. Let's look at one of them. Here we see a couple of points which defines color, position and opacity. We don't see opacity element here because by default in SVG standard, if opacity is omitted, it means that it equals 100% visibility. I can add this omitted opacity and it will be the same. One reason why WinCC don't display it properly, because one gradient linked to another. This reference means that this gradient have the same color and opacity values as that, but have only different coordinates position. As you may have realized, WinCC doesn't understand this nesting of gradients. At this point, our goal is to copy these elements into empty gradient and delete this reference. Let's unwrap this gradient tag, type closing tag, and copy these points and paste into empty gradient. Now we can delete href reference. Thereby this gradient is independent, and we should do it with all href here. Also you can see all these references points to one gradient. Let's fix all the rest gradients. All the gradients have fixed. Let's look at this magnifying glass in WinCC. As you can see, something goes wrong. A lot of gradients not in their places. Return to VS Code and look at gradients again. Secondly, there is another critical point. In our gradients we have gradientTransform attribute, and importantly how it's written. In this case, gradientTransform apply matrix transformation to the coordinates x and y. Real positions will be calculated in runtime. If you are interested about how it really calculated, I put the link to documentation in the video description. The important detail here is that the separator between the matrix values is spaces, and WinCC cannot correctly process this entry and will not display gradients as a result. In order for gradients to be displayed in WinCC, you must add commas between the matrix values. I'll add commas here and all the rest too. I will mark all positions where commas need to be placed in this gradient. Okay, next. Okay, all gradient transform is changed. In fact, in your situation, there already can be commas and you don't need to do that. But you should remember about this feature. It looks like we are finished here and let's check it in WinCC. Update widgets. It looks better, but not ideal. But I want to show you another WinCC feature. Let's look at this screen into Runtime. Download it. As you can see in Runtime, this magnifying glass looks like the origin. This fact means that the preview software in the development environment of TiaPortal is different from the one that works in the runtime. Now you know how to handle SVG images with gradients by hand. But in the next video I'll show you how you can do it absolutely automatic. Stay tuned, subscribe to my channel and you can receive more content like this.